Edgar, man, awesome to have you on here. You've been one of the loyal podcast listeners from the beginning. I just have to ask, how'd you find us from the beginning?
It was through an Apple podcast search. I was big around 2020 and searching how to get into real estate. And a lot of those searches came down to listening to podcasts on my way to work. And specifically, the Chicago podcast came up, and you guys came up, and I was like, wow, this is great. It's something specific to our markets that I can kind of dive into and learn more about. So that's how I got into it.
Man, you've been an avid listener. You've bought merch. You've shown up at our parties. I know you've referred us. Like, I just want to say thank you from both of us, man. And it means a lot because we, obviously, this is not a huge profit center for us, and our goal is to add value and give back to people. And you're a good story that we're going to dive into today that, we've only been around for a few years, but I know we have the ability and impact. I know we've had the stories now to show like we've been able to help people on their journey as well too. So we're excited to dive in here, Edgar.
And as
Yeah,
well.
this will be good, man. Edgar, I have a clear memory of you buying a straight up Chicago tank top and showing it off at the gym, like on your Facebook or Instagram. And me and Mark being like, dude, we can't pull that off because you're an in shape dude. Me and Mark were like, we probably should just buy some t-shirts.
Yeah, that made me feel like shit for about a week. Like as good as it was, I'm like, that guy's ripped and in the gym. Like I'm getting old. Like, but at the same time, it was the other part that offset of like, wow, someone's wearing our gear.
Funny story about that tank top, right? So I still wear it to the gym. And just the other day, I met another gym member that kind of brought it up because I was wearing it. He's like, "Oh, you listen to the podcast as well?" I'm like, "Yeah, like I'm actually gonna be
Hell yeah.
in it in a couple of days."
That was me.
So shout out to him.
That's awesome. That's awesome. All right, man. Well, just give us a backstory. You're born in Mexico. You came here at a very young age. I think you grew up in Marquette Park. Kind of give us kind of the a 2-minute version of the first 18 years of your life.
Yeah, so I was brought here when I was 5 years old. My mother and father came here. We got a place in 95 over by 67th and Troy. Then we were kind of moving around a lot during those years between 95 and 2001. Originally I'm from Guanajuato, Mexico. Grew up my whole life over in Marquette Park prior to joining the military. So between 95 and 2001, we went from Marquette and Troy. Then we moved over to 61st in Richmond, then 63rd in California, and then finally kind of ending up at 63rd in Sacramento. So that's where I'm really familiar with that area growing up.
Yeah, I love that. I love that area out there. Marquette Park and all those areas around Midway that were up until a few years ago areas I wasn't that familiar with. So there's so much opportunity there, even today, I think. And I think we'll dive a little more into that. But you went to the military, man. First off, thank you for your service. I believe it was the Marines. But tell me why you made that choice in your life.
So that was around the time of the recession. So 2008 I graduated high school in 2007. I kind of went directly into the workforce. I worked as a forklift operator, and then I didn't really know much. I didn't know what I wanted to do. And then I had a hard time finding a job right after that, right after high school, something stable. So 2008 and 9, went to a trade school. I went to UTI, Universal Technical Institute, for automotive mechanics. And that's what, after I graduated that with my certificate, is when I had a hard time finding that career in the automotive and diesel field. So that's when I was like, well, let me try to see if I can get into the military. It was always an aspiration of mine, kind of like after high school. And so I joined in 2010 and did my 4 years till 2014.
All right, so let's dig on that a little bit. What lessons have you learned from the military that you apply today in your real estate success?
So a big lesson is, the military is big on acronyms. And one of the big lessons that I took, I wrote these things down here. In the Marine Corps specifically, we have this acronym that is JJ did tie buckle, right? And I can go down the list of just what those it spells something out, but I can go down a list of what each one of those letters mean that is directly transferable to real estate investing. So it's justice, judgment, dependability, integrity, decisiveness, tact, initiative, endurance, bearing, unselfishness, courage, knowledge, loyalty, and enthusiasm, right? So that's JJ did type buckle.
If I brought that
You
up
know,
to
you
any
can,
Marine, is that like a well-known, like they drill this in your head in the Marines? Like any Marine would
they
know
do,
this.
for sure, for sure. JJ did type buckle.
There you go. All right. So let's I don't want this to be understated because how old you're like 19, 20 when you make this decision, right?
Yes, I was actually 20. I was coming up on 21. Yeah, right around that legal drinking age.
Yeah, so like, I just remember how I was at 20. Like I was not fit to be, out there going through boot camp and so forth. Like I enjoyed my social life there. Like was that a thought in the back of your head of just what are you giving up, or or was it just, hey, this is what I want to do and let's plow ahead?
Yeah, no, I was committed. I was committed. I really was trying to join previously, maybe about a year prior to. I had a couple issues that held me back. So then I went back in, spoke to recruiters, and that's when I was like, yeah, let's do it. I wanted to leave Chicago, kind of get out of my element a little bit. A lot of people I think get stuck in that, you get stuck in your neighborhood and you never really get to explore. And one of the things that a lot of these recruiters kind of promote is like, oh, you get to travel and you get these benefits. So a lot of it was stability and to be able to leave Chicago to experience outside of the country, different cities, different states. So that was really the main drive.
Okay. All right, so you make the decision, you go through. We've talked about some of the, some of the similarities that are transferable to any part of life, whether it be real estate or whatnot. Talk to us a little about some of maybe like the harder times there. Like, was there a time where you thought about quitting? Like, was there a time where you thought like this is too much for me, man? Like I am in over my head.
Yeah, for sure. It was for sure like the first week of kind of joining, right? The first week of boot camp, they call it receiving. That was big. I was like, I don't know if I made the right decision. This is kind of tough. Should I have stayed back? That was a big part of it. And then another big part of it is when you get um, to station in different duty stations, right? So you're constantly moving while you're in the military, and you never really get to kind of settle down. You're always meeting new people, which is great, but you build these bonds for those 2 3 years, and then they get uh, shipped over to different duty stations or overseas. And it's like you're constantly gaining but losing those friendships and bonds that you build.
Yeah. Do you still have a network from there? Like, are these still people you
Yeah,
interact with? Whether it be dinner once a year or just hanging out or social media or whatever.
I do. Yeah, a lot of it is social media. I'm actually getting ready to head over to New Orleans this weekend, which is where I was stationed at for a good friend of mine's wedding. My wife and I are heading down there, and I do keep in contact with a lot of people, and they actually always reach out to me on social media, just ask me real estate related questions, just because of the content that I share. So, come to find out that some of them are involved in real estate in different parts of the country. A lot of them in Ohio, whether it be California, down south, Tennessee. So, definitely continuing that network just to kind of have those in the back pocket in case I do want to do some out of state investing as well.
Are there any groups out there, or just call it groups, maybe Marine specific, Army specific, that's dedicated to like real estate investing? Because I know I get a lot of people that are abroad that call me up. They're kind of planning for what post service looks like, and they're looking to learn more about real estate. Is that anything that's out there? Like a
Yes,
Facebook
so there's
group?
actually a big Facebook group, and I'm pretty sure they're on Instagram as well that I follow is Active Duty Passive Income.
Oh,
Those they're big into real estate. They actually have a convention I think coming up in San Antonio, Texas, if I'm not mistaken. I believe that's in October here coming up or in November, one of those dates. But yeah, they're big in the real estate world, and they kind of focus around like those veterans and active duty military. Just people that kind of understand those challenges that we face.
Got it. Well, and we'll link to this in the show notes. But for those who didn't hear episode 245 with JD, I believe he's got his meetup too that we have on our page, and we'll link to it in here. So it's another local one in Chicago.
what let me ask you a question just about military life. Like, was there time, like I just said, people call me up all the time, kind of looking at real estate investing as something they want to be in after they're out of active duty. Does time permit itself when you're in the service to explore kind of, understand a real estate market, understand Burr, do different virtual meetups. Like, was your schedule allowing you to do that? And were you focused on that at that point? Were you knowing you want to go the route of real estate investing?
No, I wasn't focused at that time at all, but I think it does allow that time, but it just depends on what your occupation is. Some occupations are very demanding, you're constantly getting deployed, or you're working 12, 16-hour days sometimes. My specific field, I was more on the admin side in the Marine Corps. So while I was in, I did have that time, but it's a lot like having a 9 to 5 job with, you wake up early, you get the training in, and you go and you do your occupation, and then afterwards, after the 1500, which is the 5 p.m.s, 6 p.m.s, then you have time to kind of work on yourself. But it's just it's a demanding career that a lot of people don't. But in turn, many people do still pursue that career, and I do know people that have pursued real estate while on active duty.
All right. All right. So you come back home after active duty. What's on your mind here? Like, where is real estate? Is it, hey, this is something I want to pursue? Is this something that is just kind of a side hustle? Like, what was your mindset, day one coming back from service? Like, you've gone through your 4 years, you've gone through, your reserve. Where are you at with this? This meaning real estate.
Real estate didn't come into my picture until 2019, right? So I spent the better part of that 2014 when I left active duty till about 2019, just kind of like bouncing between jobs, trying to get that good career that I really wanted to explore. My main intention after leaving active duty was to go back to school. So I did. I went back and I got right into Harold Washington. I did that for a year. Then I went into DePaul University. So I did DePaul for 2 years. I ended up not completing my degree. But that's right around the time when I started working full time for the state of Illinois. I did that for a while. And then I moved into working for the city of Chicago for the Chicago Transit Authority in 2019. And that's when kind of I got that real estate bug where I was like, I have to make this money work for me instead of me working so hard for it.
You got your license in that time too, didn't you? Around that time?
Yeah, well, I got licensed as an agent in 2021.
Okay.
So I'm coming up on 2 years now, or 2022? Yeah, 2022.
All right, so let's talk about the first deal, because that's always a great story. What you are interested. There's a lot of people who currently are in the shoes that you were at this point, right? They're interested, they want to do something, they're listening to podcasts, they're absorbing a bunch of knowledge. You actually went out there and pulled the trigger. Walk us through that. Like, how many houses did you walk? How did you surround yourself with the right people? And then after that, we're gonna pound you with like what went wrong here.
Well, it started through you guys, really. Well, I'll start with the beginning of the late 2019. It was right in the fourth quarter, and I was really bad at money management. So I really wanted to kind of get a grasp on that. And that's when I came across real estate investing. It was just through a Google search. Bigger Pockets obviously is on everybody's radar when they're starting to do that search. So Bigger Pockets came up, and I think as soon as I got on Bigger Pockets, a lot of people started responding to my questions on there. I think John Warren was one of them, and it might have been you as well, Tom. You might have been on there as well, and this was in 2019. So I wanted something tangible. Real estate is something tangible that I can kind of like you foresee and you kind of put your efforts into. And so that's when I was like, okay, I'm gonna take this more serious, gather my money, and then make the best use of my VA loan as possible. So I started listening to podcasts, really investing in my education, and then going through the motions of, all right, let me get with a real estate agent. Let me start touring these homes. It was about a 6 month just educational period for me. And then I would say about a 3 month just kind of touring to see what area of the city I wanted to get into and what was best suited for the house hacking that I wanted to do.
What'd you buy? Let's go. Let's fast forward. What is it?
Yeah, whatever.
Yes. I went ahead and purchased a 2-unit in Cicero. So I was looking at Cicero because I wanted something near a highway. I wanted something that was easily accessible. And that was mainly because in case that I had to go over there to the property and, cut the grass or replace anything that broke, that I can get there in a relatively quick amount of time. So I'm right off the 55, right behind Halton Race Course was where the purchase was made. And Cicero, I thought, was a good tenant pool with solid rents. And I was kind of all over the place at first, but that's where I kind of settled for.
What other neighborhoods were you looking at? Like, were you looking at the north side? Were you just, Marquette Park, you know it good? Were you considering there? Like, what are, through that thought process, share a little more about that.
I did. And so the thought process really came down to what I was approved for, right? So you kind of get your debt to income in order and you get approved by a lender, X amount of money. And at that time, home prices weren't as escalated as they are today. So I still had a good amount of purchasing power, especially with the lower interest rates, which were great. I ended up jumping in. I got a 3.25 at that time. I'm currently sitting at a 2.25 right now. So that was a big influence in the decision, and mainly just the price point, right? So it was something around below 350. And I think that Cicero, in certain parts of Cicero and Berwyn, that's kind of where I was looking at. That's where the price point kind of made sense for me and my numbers.
What,
Yeah. Go ahead, Mark.
I was gonna say, so you kind of backed into it then, kind of based on what you could afford. Was there thoughts of city versus suburb or anything like that as far as location?
I really wanted something that would probably be near the like a CTA stop, right? That's big
So
now that I
transit
have.
was most important.
For sure, yeah. Transportation and just quick accessibility around the city was a big thing for me. But again, it was more of a price point at the time. I really just was so eager to jump in that, in retrospect, I think I may have done it too quickly. But it's better to have skin in the game than not be in the game at all.
It's hard to go wrong at a 2.25% mortgage, right? You really got to mess up your underwriting. Like, it's looking back on it, it's like, man, we should have bought everything. So, were you aware of the VA loan? I want to dive into this because, and we've hit on it on a few separate episodes, but were you aware of this? Did a lender have to bring it up to you? Because it's just so powerful. Like, so many people I hear, they're not only buying a property, they're getting money back at closing, and then rinsing and repeating the cycle. And then, in today's market, and this is stolen from Jason Wagner, but it's assumable. You go to sell that place, so, a non-veteran, I can go and assume your loan, and all of a sudden, like, I can pay you a lot more money because the loan is at 2.2 and not 7, right? So
Yeah.
I guess let's start with, that wasn't even a question. That's just me rambling. Question is, like, how are you aware of the VA loan? Who brought it to your attention? And at the time, did you realize how powerful it was?
So I was aware of the VA loan. That kind of came from just learning, right? That first investment in the education of getting on Bigger Pockets, listening to a lot of these podcasts, and just networking. That was the first like 6 months, right? So I didn't even think about where I wanted to purchase until I kind of made that education. I put that education in myself. And that's when I really started diving into like the benefits that I had as a military veteran. And then I was like, wow, that I can purchase something, 2, 3, 4 unit property with zero down payment. That was big for me, especially kind of as a starter, as a rookie. And I, still am a rookie and I'm still learning, but that was a big thing for me. And what was the third part of your question? I'm sorry.
No, the third part was just, at the time, did you realize just how powerful this was? Like, right, like, it's so good. It's such a good loan. And if for anyone out there who's in the armed services, take advantage of this. If you're debating to get into real estate or not, take advantage of what you have in front of you.
For sure.
Well, I think that is just another reason why you should execute or pull the trigger, because a lot of times we're looking like, I got to buy a $500,000 property, or I'm buying is such a big deal, but it's like, no, you're only actually putting X amount of dollars into it. Or in this scenario, you're not putting much into it at all. Short of your time. And then, so I think it's underestimated from the value of like your risk. Your risk goes down considerably when you do something with the VA loans. Now, don't get me wrong, there's plenty of other things you got to execute right on the home inspection and make sure all that stuff. But the VA loans actually kind of keep a lot of things, kind of your guardrails up to make sure you're not buying a disgustingly horrible property that's going to eat you alive by cash flow. So just for people out there considering, that's just one less risk that you have out there when you're messing around. Even FHA too, that's still not a huge downstroke.
Yeah.
Yeah, for sure. Training wheels for sure on that.
So what went wrong on this deal? Right, we ended up closing, but was there any scary stories? Any part where you thought, man, this is not going to go through, or was it pretty smooth sailing?
It was smooth, considering that myself and my wife were kind of moving in. I was like, if anything goes wrong, then I'm here to kind of fix it. And at the time, well, I had a good, stable job and career, so there wasn't nothing really that I was afraid of, per se. But I wasn't really expecting buying a turnkey property. You really don't expect to have so many expenses, but those expenses came quick.
What would you do differently now? Because I think sometimes you don't know what you don't know on your first purchase, and things go smooth just sometimes out of luck too. Like things that you didn't even know could go wrong just didn't go wrong. Is there anything different now you do in your kind of due diligence or buying process that you just didn't even realize you should be doing back then?
Buy larger. I would get a 4 unit. Try to maximize that purchase.
There you go. I like that answer. All right, so we obviously like this one. We kept going. What was next in the journey?
So the next one was in 2021. So the plan was to purchase. I got the Cicero 2 unit, and was to be in there for a year, and then kind of rinse and repeat, do the same thing all over again the next year. At the time, my girlfriend and I, at the time she was my girlfriend, she was gonna purchase a property as an FHA, and I was gonna purchase another property. So we are gonna do two at the same time in 2021. But that was around the time when everybody was getting beat out by cash offers. So we put in a couple offers. It kept getting beaten out, kept getting beaten out. So we decided to go with a condominium purchase. We did a 5% conventional, but we got it in a great part of the city. We're over in Fulton Market. So we did 10 months in Cicero, kind of gathered all our, money, and then we're able to put that 5% down that we originally were going to put to another multi-unit property, but instead put it towards the condominium, which we ended up getting a pretty good deal. That was right around the time of, the riots in Chicago and around the country. So everybody was kind of fleeing the downtown area. So the sellers were willing to work with us on the price, and we got that down to a good price point. Again, with a very good rate, we got a 3.2 on that one, and it just made sense. And so we went and moved into that one in 2021.
All right. And then do you still have, I forgot what the actual term is with the VA loans, but you have like so much money you can use. And if you use, part of it for this job, for this property, you still have, X amount of dollars left. Like, have you used up all your bullets there? Or do you still, could you go purchase another house hack with a VA loan, or is it still tied up in that Cicero?
No, so I do have a secondary entitlement is the term that they use, and essentially it's like the Cook County loan limit. So for example, I believe the loan limit's around 745, if I'm not mistaken. So let's say you purchase property like mine, the 2 unit was purchased at 302. That means that I would have about like another 342, 43 of purchasing power on that property. So that's the secondary entitlement that I do have. Yes, I can use that again, which is what I'm currently trying to use for on my third property. The problem with that is certain stipulations, right? So you have to meet certain criteria. You can't just say, hey, I want to go buy another multifamily property. It has to be kind of like, is your lifestyle, why you can't be a rental property? Is it because your family is upsizing, downsizing? Are you moving locations for work? So certain of those scenarios. So this third one will be, it's looking to be a single family home that I would love to find something to renovate.
Well, before we go into the third one, moving to Fulton Market and having the 2-flat Cicero, you now became a true housing provider, landlord, property manager. Like, what happened with that you weren't expecting, or what challenges did you have around being, you had to go find renters, you had to move out, get the placement ready? Like, talk to us about how that went, any challenges you had there.
It's very chaotic. It's very time consuming that I didn't really understand at the time, right? Like you feel like you're ready until it hits you in the face. And that's when you're like, okay, especially having a full-time W-2 job, I have to kind of set everything up to where it's either after work or I have to hire out to have those issues taken care of. Some things that I may not be always available for. So that was the biggest challenge is, making sure that these properties are well maintained And if it's not by me, then I have to make sure that I have somebody do it.
What go a little deeper on the time restraints. You had to get a place, right? Did you ever you bought the place, you moved into one, you had another tenant. Did you ever have to turn over that other unit yet? Has that person moved out?
Yes. So I guess I should specify we were in Fulton Market. We moved back to that same Cicero property. So right now we're currently living back in that 2 unit. The way that we kind of structured it was when we first purchased in 2020, we were living in the lower unit, my wife and I, and then we renovated. So it was just minor renovations. We kind of just redid the kitchen flooring, painted the cabinets. We just got it looking a little better than what it was before. The upstairs unit was already ready to go. We had I had actually family move in. They were able to come in because it was convenient for them to live in the area that I purchased. So that's been going strong. I haven't had any issues with that. We were living in a downstairs unit, renovated that, moved out, went to Fulton Market. Now we're back over in Cicero in that lower level unit, renovating.
You had family moving. I heard you say it was convenient for them, but I didn't hear it was convenient for you. Like, I mean, no matter what, at the end of the day, you probably have to do things a little differently. Like, tell us about that. Like, renting your friends.
How was that rent raise process?
Yeah. The rent friends, relatives, employees. Like, that's always a little different. It's always a little more touchy. Like,
Yeah, I think you really have to kind of set those expectations. And even when you set those expectations, they always try to have that certain leniency, right? They think that everything's a little bit more like, oh, it's okay. Like, maybe the extra 5 days, 10 days in payment is going to be all right because it's me. But, you set those expectations. And like I said, so far, I haven't had an issue. Luckily, through the pandemic, a lot of people weren't getting their rents. So they were looking elsewhere, have to come out of pocket. Luckily, family was able to consistently have that rent paid, even if it was a couple of days late. So I'm very grateful for that. But the challenges with that is, like I said, it was just they think that they're able to kind of slide and get away with a couple of things that maybe otherwise wouldn't on regular tenants.
So have you had to have any tough conversation? You don't have to go specific, but have you had to hold your ground on your expectations you set?
Oh, yeah, for sure. But I think I'm a stern and fair person, so they respect that.
Very militaristic of you.
Talk to me about renting out the condo in Fulton Market. Like, is it something where you're actually making money where it's like, oh, this is a good investment? Or is it more of all right, I'm treading water. This is good. It's fine. I still have the asset. Like, dive a little bit into like, is that something where, hey, would you buy another one and rent it out?
Yeah, so that was a process, right? I think that's when I kind of took on more of that kind of housing provider role, right? So I went ahead and did the screening. I went through Avail, right? So I used avail.co to get the tenants to get screened. I got a great tenant right away. It's a very hot condo. I think I put it up on the market, and it went in 24 hours right away. It got rented out. So we were able to make the decision. Did everything through Avail. I'm collecting rent there. The only issues that we had was I didn't give myself enough time for turnover. So it was a weekend where we had to pack up all our stuff and then get the condo ready for the new tenant. And to this day, we still have to go repair certain things. So the garbage disposal was one that it was kind of finicky, and then it finally went out. So I have to go back and get that replaced along with a few other little touches. But it wasn't as bad just because you have the HOAs that will take care of anything that's immediate, right? So anything else, the tenant will reach out to me and I'll go ahead and take care of it. But it's more hands off. Sorry, it's more hands off than another property. And then as far as the cash flow, we rented it out at 2,500, which we're at cash flowing $100. However, taxes went up, as you guys talk about. And so with the taxes going up, it went up a couple $100, and now we're losing money on it. So that's where we're at.
Got it. What's the long-term play with this guy? Right? You have it, you're in a hot part of town there, you're treading water, $100 give or take. you know, depending on how you run your CapEx and your maintenance, et cetera. Is this a long-term hold for you? Is this, let's wait it out until rates go down? Like how strongly do you feel about this?
I'm very bullish on Fulton Market. I often would take my dog for walks in the neighborhood, and all you see is just buildings going up left and right, left and right. And it's a great area of town. It's a lot of restaurants. There's a lot of development happening there. So the long-term play is to hold it. We did have, because we went with a 5% conventional, we did have PMI. However, with the conventional loans, once you hit that 80% LTV, then that PMI drops off. So we'll be able to kind of recapture that losses on the back end once we get to that 80%. And just kind of go from there, see how the values in the area, hopefully they go up. And then of course we're going to push rents up, because I think that 2,500 for nice views like that in a nice 1-bedroom was very conservative.
Well, you got an awesome rate on it. They're paying down your principal, like you're talking about. You're going towards something, and you're getting the tax advantages that might not be recognized in your pocket expenses, but it's going against your 1099 income. So there's a lot of other things that are going for you here. And I've been telling the story a lot lately, because I looked up the other day, and I had 3 condos that I was close to breaking even, actually a couple bucks into it every month, and now I have a few $100,000 in equity. And that's the Tom's going to drop his line here. And
time's your biggest asset, man.
Yeah. So like those ones that if now I think there's a different opinion if it's paying the ass, the HOA is going to outscrew you, can't control those things. I think those are where we start deciding, like, all right, but if it's easy and it's on cruise control, like even one of those units that I have, like I've had a tenant, it's probably $200-300, but man, she's been there for 7-8 years and she just doesn't call me. I just know when she moves out somewhere down the road, I'm gonna have to redo the whole thing. But if I'd rather she's paying it down and she's great. So it's one of those just not expecting the low touch type thing. So I'm really excited for you, because that could be a big one for you long term.
Yeah, it's in a great part of town. So I think holding it, just it's pristine. I'm not worried about that cash flow yet.
Yeah.
So you're looking for the single family home. Where are you looking? Where we're at?
Well, I'm looking in Bronzeville, Kenwood area, and in East Garfield Park. So I really want to do this play kind of like an appreciation play. We're going to try to do like a forced appreciation with a renovation loan, again using that VA secondary entitlement. And I'm just kind of waiting for that right one. I really want a Greystone, but those are on the higher end of the price point. But if we find a nice brownstone, maybe 100, 150 renovation costs in it, then I think that we'll be in business.
Now, is your wife sold on this, right? Is she along for the real estate ride? Or is she like, I kind of trust you, Edgar? Is she excited about, there's a Greystone? Like, where is she at in this equation?
No, yeah, she's all in. She was doing loan. She was a loan signing agent kind of like throughout the pandemic, right when those rates were so low. So she was crushing it, with the appointments. And she's not as big into real estate as I am, but she's definitely supportive, and she's all in with me as well.
Well, you, like many other people, benefited from super low interest rates. Interest rates right now are kind of where they're at when I got into real estate. So I've always taken the last 7-8 years as kind of like a blessing. And I still saw it as a blessing. I still didn't take advantage of it as much as I should have. But how does current Edgar kind of look at this new environment where you have to buy something that's higher rates versus what you had to do before? Does it matter to you, or are you one of those people that are like, I'm going to wait for them to come down, or like, are you watching it? Like, where's your mindset with that? And what advice would you give to other people?
No, not at all. What's that saying? They say, "Don't wait to buy real estate and wait." Right. So that's
it's on your angle.
Yeah, I'm not. As long as the deal works, these interest rates have been much higher in the past, and who knows if they're going to go lower again. But I'm not going to wait to find out. Go out there and take action. That's the biggest thing.
Yeah, man, just taking action. I don't know. Mark, we've talked about this before. Like, for every mistake you make for being a little eager, it's worth it 10 times in gold to not be on the sideline.
Well, yeah, let's put this into real life scenario now. Like, so 2017, 18, 19, hundreds of people told me that they're stocking up all their cash and they're just waiting for the market to crash again. And I was kind of giving advice of why it's not going to happen and so forth, but those people missed out, and they now tell me like, oh man, I should wish I bought everything because now prices didn't go up and interest rates went up, so they sat on the sidelines waiting for something. And I always say if it makes sense, interest rate is just kind of another component of the overall deal that gets shaped into it.
Yeah,
Sure.
I agree with you 100%. So Edgar, you're looking in those neighborhoods. You've also got license. Are you actively out there servicing other clients? Is it something more for MLS access? Talk to us a little about why you got licensed and how are you using it today?
Yes, so I did get licensed. I'm trying to figure out exactly what date it was. I think it was in 2021. It was right around March. And the reason why I did it was just to kind of add another income stream to be able to kind of supercharge my investments, right? Um, at the time, my first real estate agent that I worked with was good, but it was a family friend, right? So that was kind of how I began this journey. The second one was John Warren's team. So shout out to the team. They did a great job helping us kind of navigate that second purchase, even though it wasn't necessarily what we initially wanted to go with. But I wanted to make some extra income, and I said, well, if I'm already in the game and I feel like I can do a good job at kind of finding properties and underwriting them as best that I can, right, for deals and deal analysis, then I might as well try and get licensed. And so I did. I'm actually with I'm with Jonathan Clem's team. So I'm with REI, with RE Investors Brokerage. Shout out to Jonathan. And he reached out to me. I did a couple deals and transactions through him, and I'm currently not actively doing a lot just because, again, my W-2 takes up a lot of my time. Obviously, my fitness is a key priority along with my family, but I do help out a lot of friends. I'm helping a friend right now who's looking to purchase a multifamily property. We actually just toured a property this past weekend over in Bridgeport.
Nice. I just had lunch with Clem today.
Sweet, awesome.
So you did a lot of name drops there. I one thing to take away, it's you will accelerate this journey by surrounding yourself with the right people, right? The transaction with John Warren probably went a lot smoother than the family friend. No offense to your family friend, but you had someone who does this 100 times a year, knows what he's doing, and owns, whatever, 200 units. The process is going to go smoother. Surround yourself with the right people. Public service announcement to everybody.
They say real estate is a team sport, right? And that's another thing that I took away from military services. You have to work with one, and real estate is that team sport.
All right. Awesome.
All right. Edgar, what's your outtake on Chicago? You're looking in, East Garfield Park. You're looking, at some of these things. Just Chicago in general. Do you see yourself anchoring down here and building a portfolio, or some of these headwinds? Are you saying, I don't know if this is for me?
So my current outlook is I want to purchase a couple more, small multifamily. I really want to dive into the large multifamily. I actually reached out to John Casman to try to learn more about that syndication process with the LPs and the GPs. That's my biggest thing, especially if I'm going to focus my career on this W-2. So, my outlook is just to purchase one or two more here in Chicago and then maybe start looking out of state.
Sounds good. Mark, anything else? Are you ready to wrap?
I'm ready to wrap. Edgar, it's been an awesome show here. You ready for the questions?
Yes.
All right. All right. What's your competitive advantage? How have you been able to do this while others wish they could have had the head start that you have?
I think, the competitive advantage that I have right now is the mindset that I carry. I'm big into, I recently got into triathlons, and, going out there and actively pursuing those challenges to kind of fortify your mind, I think is a big competitive advantage to be in real estate, in the real estate game as well.
All right. Along those same lines, give us one piece of advice you would tell someone that is yet to buy their first property here in Chicago.
Invest in yourself. My biggest thing was taking those 6 months. I know sometimes we become eager to hurry and rush things, but really just invest in your education. learn so you can make those good judgments and smart investments.
Love it. What do you do for fun?
I run, I lift, I shoot, I do all that stuff.
Yeah, true Marine here. Edgar, give us a good book, podcast, or self-development activity you'd recommend to our listeners.
I read so much. I'm big into stoicism. So Ryan Holiday, any of his books, he's got a great series of books. One of them is Discipline is Destiny. So stoicism, Ryan Holiday, check them out.
Have you read his other one? The conspiracies?
Yeah, the Hulk Hogan, the entertainment one.
No, I have not.
Oh man, it's very he somehow finds a way to be stoic about that book, about that topic. So it's an awesome book. It's a little more entertaining than it is growth, but it's pretty cool.
For sure.
All right. Besides yourself, name one person in your local network you'd highly recommend to other investors as a quality resource.
I mentioned him earlier. I'm going to go with Jonathan Clem. He's great. He's been great to me. And he's a great resource with a large network in Chicago.
Jonathan, a quality builder, has been on several times. He's on the Build Your Team page. Anyone looking for a GC to take on heavy rehabs, great resource. I know I've referred him out multiple times. Mark, you refer him out all the time.
Yep. I'm actually using it for something right now.
There you go. All right, Edgar, thank you so much. You provide a ton of value to our listeners. How can they learn more about you? Is there any way they can provide value to you?
Yeah, so you can reach me on Instagram. My personal page is at Ed and Edgar. My real estate agent page is at Third Rail Realtor. And then I have an investment page, which is at Semfi Properties. And then value is, I just love to learn, man. I love to soak it in and just have conversations with other people.
We love it. All right, we'll link to all those in the show notes. And we got a Chicago fact. Mark, who's sponsoring this? Who are we playing for?
All right, sponsors Cost Seg Kev for cost segregation, and then we're playing for Jerry Malone, who bought a T-shirt off the Straight Up Chicago merch store.
All right, Jerry, we'll see if we can get this.
Yeah.
All right, so Edgar, you know how this rolls. I know you're an avid listener, so Mark gets a shot. You get to back him up. You guys are gonna have 4 options here. Given the first house hack was in Cicero, I got a Cicero question, and we've done a few of these because John Warren's been on the show several times, but this one's different. So I'm gonna give you 4 facts. You're gonna tell me which one is not true. I'm gonna give you 4 statements. 4 statements, 3 are trues, 1's a lie. You got to pick out the lie of Cicero. So it is the only incorporated town in Cook County. It is the birthplace of the actor who does the voice of the Pillsbury Doughboy. It is the 6th largest municipality in Illinois. It is home to Morton College, the 2nd oldest community college in the state. Which one of those is a lie?
I'll say the first one. It's the only city that's incorporated.
The only incorporated town in Cook County. You going with that one?
Yeah, I'm going with A or 1.
All right. Edgar, what are you going with?
I'll go with 3. It's what was the third one? It was
the third one was it's the 6th largest municipality.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure that's true. If he got me, it's just on size. But all right, go on.
All right, Edgar saved you today. It's the 11th.
Oh, so you changed the order. I thought it was the whole idea of like how big it was. Like they have like
it's the 11th. It's not the 6th. You can name 6 towns bigger than Cicero.
Yeah, 100%.
Could be 5. So they have like 85,000 people, which is something I never knew until recently as well too. It's a huge city.
Yeah, come on. I made that one. The only incorporated town in Cook County. That is a true fact according to Wikipedia and the Cicero town page. I don't know what that means.
I don't know what that means either. Like, so I guess it just seemed weird. Like, all right, whatever. Jerry Malone, you get the $50 gift card brought to you by Cost Seg for cost segregation studies. Thank you to Edgar for saving my butt to get you that $50 gift card. So, oh man, great show, Edgar. Great show, Tom, as always. Listeners, check out Build Your Team. He brought up Build Your Team where you saw Jonathan Clem on there. Check it out. We have a whole bunch of great resources that Tom and I are always using. And I'm going to ask you guys, if you're getting anything from this podcast, like Edgar has in the past, he shares it. Share it with somebody you know. That's how we keep expanding. And our goal is to help other people. And that's the number one thing, to help other people achieve what they're trying to accomplish in their life. So share it, help us share the word, and check out our YouTube, share those as well too. Edgar, thank you. Tom, thank you as always. Listeners, we'll see you next week.
Thanks all.
An honor. Thank you, guys.